Alright, so I'm here with Jacob Sokol from Sinsafi, and we're going to talk about living your life purpose. And he's an expert on this because he actually does live his life purpose. So, Jacob, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you started living your life purpose? What were you doing before?
Yeah, well, first, thanks so much for having me, Lillian. It's an honor and a pleasure, and I'm thrilled to connect with other people who are living their life on purpose as well. And what was I doing before I was living my life on purpose? Well, I think that I'd actually backtrack a little bit and say, what am I doing now to live my life on purpose? And then we'll just look back and see, how it contrasts to the past. So, to me, living on purpose, it's a dynamic thing, but essentially one of the most fundamental parts of it is figuring out what your values are, so what you stand for, right? What do you care about? What does it for you? What brings you alive? What makes you feel like life is worth living? And then how do you incorporate that into your daily life? How do you really create a life in integrity with those values? Because when we're really in integrity with what we value most and we're true to it and we live it on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment basis, we're going to feel great. And this is consciously and unconsciously. So, we can identify, if we can identify what those things are and then consciously work to make sure that we're living them, we're going to feel awesome. And when we don't, when we, let's say, eat a tub of ice cream and feel like crap afterwards, well, maybe it's an unconscious thing going on there, but essentially we really want to become conscious of what makes us feel great, what are our values, what are our passions, what are our strengths, and then how do we combine them, and ideally, in my book, in my philosophy, use that in service to something greater than yourself. So you're doing what you love, you're doing what excites you, you're doing what you're good at, but other people are benefiting from it. So the more you do what you love, the more the world is a better place. And when we really focus on giving and creating and contributing and creating a better life for other people, and it doesn't need to be by writing a book or, leading a yoga seminar. I mean, it could just be really by living a life that makes you feel alive and is in integrity with what you care about. When we do these things and do it in service, we're serving the rest of the world. It takes that pressure off of ourselves, and we just enjoy the experience so much. Like, for this to be my job right now, sitting here talking to you about living on purpose and other people benefiting from this, and I get to speak about this, it's like, are you kidding me? How cool is that for me? Individually. So what was I doing before I kind of stumbled on and created this living on purpose philosophy? Well, I was doing all the things that I should be doing. I had a good job, making good money for my age, working in Times Square, doing IT consultant work, and I had, the nice car, I had the nice job, I had the new clothing, I had the fancy dinners, and everything that a successful person, would want from society's standards or viewpoint, or what we're told to kind of value, money, fame, beauty, those things. That was, my life was based around those things, as pop culture and society really pushes us to value those things. So anyway, to me, I was like, I'm doing all the right things, yet something is wrong, and I didn't know what was wrong. I didn't know what the next step was. I didn't know really what to do, but I knew that something needed to change. I knew that I needed to find my purpose, and I may not have known the word purpose at that time, but I needed to find something deeper, a meaning for living, a reason to be here, something to wake up excited about in the morning, and I just committed to doing whatever it took to find that purpose. And one of my mentors gave me a piece of wisdom, and it's one of the best pieces of wisdom I can give to someone who's looking to find their purpose. It's make it your purpose to find your purpose. And when you do that, something just clicks, and it's all right that you don't know what your purpose is, because your purpose is to find your purpose. So that's a little bit of backdrop of where I came from and where I am right now.
Yeah, I love that. It's really brilliant. The purpose is to find your purpose. Beautiful. Beautifully put. So I'm noticing two things just when you're speaking about this. One is that there's not that much focus on what you actually do. I think that a lot of times people have questions about their life purpose, and they're thinking, well, really, what do I do with my life? And it doesn't seem like that is really the approach you took. It wasn't like, what am I going to do? It was, maybe, what was it? What was it instead of that?
To start, it was just a trusting, and it's kind of hard, but I just trusted that there was something deeper for me out there. There was something more meaningful. There was something that I knew this couldn't be my life in its entirety. What I was doing at that point, I knew that wasn't, where I wanted to be in 20 years. So I had to just step out into the forest of the unknown and just embrace uncertainty. And it's super challenging for the majority of people to embrace this uncertainty. And for me, what I found is that the pain of staying the same was worse than the fear of the uncertainty that came with change. So it just got to the point where it just hurt too much to stay the same. Like, there was a part of my soul that was just being depleted of its juices and its like essential vibrance, and all that was just being sucked out by like what I should be doing, because I wanted to please my parents and my society and whoever else we want to please, our religion and our friends or whoever, and it just came to a point where it was too painful for me. It's the gift and the curse. It was like, yeah, it sucks to be in pain, but that pain is what brought me to the next level, because without that pain, without that struggle, without that uncomfort, I would have stayed where I was, and where I wasn't fulfilling me. So I think it's an essential thing. We don't need to know what the next step is. To me, it really starts with introspection. It starts with asking ourselves some really personal questions. What makes me come alive? What am I most proud of? What are my 5 most favorite experiences? What are my 5, whatever it is, we can create a list. In Living on Purpose, we really go through all these different questions of, who am I, and what makes me me, and what are my strengths, and what are my passions. And to me, I just wanted to study wisdom. I was like, yeah, this society is telling me one thing, but I want to hear what like the ancient great philosophers had to say. What did they think of society? What did Socrates think? What did Marcus Aurelius think? What did what are the positive psychologists of current day? What did they think? Like, forget what the mold is. I want to do something that just resonates with me on a personal level. And it's not going to be the same for everybody out there, but for me, that's what it was. It was like, man, I just want to study optimal living. I want to study wisdom, and I want to apply it. And I didn't know what that next step was. I just knew that if I stayed in that position where I was, and even if I forecasted and just kind of looked into the future, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, I would be miserable. If I stayed where I was and didn't do anything, I would be miserable. Abraham Maslow, famous psychologist from the 40s, has a really, he has this concept of self-actualization, and what he says is, what you can be, you must be. It's not a want or like a great thing, like, oh, this would be really cool to like leave my job. And it's like, once you have these basic levels of safety and nutrition and connection met, and you have these base levels of his pyramid met, this top level, it's called self-actualization, and it's to be what you can be. And it's not a want. It's not like, wow, that would be cool. It's a human need. Without that, we become unhealthy and we shrink. So it's like, if you deliberately plan on being less than you can be, you're going to be very unhappy in life. So it's really figuring out what we want to become and having patience in that process.
So I hear that you did a lot of studying. I think that maybe some people get locked in that phase. Maybe you get stuck in the learning and reading phase. And, for me as a coach, and I'm sure as you as well, what would you offer as, like, to help people move past just taking in this information, reading, listening to these interviews? What's the next step? What did you actually physically do? What action could you take to what action, not necessarily to be living your purpose, but to be finding your purpose?
Yep. That's an astute observation. It really does. It really is a trap that I've fallen into for years of my life, just like being immersed in this material and not wanting to take my head out of it. And I'm like, this stuff is just too good to pay attention to anything else. What would I suggest? Well, for me, and this is not for everybody, but for me, I figured out why I wanted to do what I wanted to do. You know, what not necessarily what was the reason, but why was the reason. And when you have a strong enough why, you know, you can move mountains with it. When you know why you're doing something, it doesn't matter how you're going to do it or even what it is. It's you know why, and it's really counterintuitive to take this approach. But so I'd really suggest for people, get clear on what they want, but not just what they want, why they want it, and get a really strong burning sensation of why you want what it is, and then, you know, do what it takes to get it, whether it's creating one, you know, new ritual or one new habit that you're going to implement daily, you know, whatever. You can ask yourself, what's the number one thing if I started doing every day that would have the biggest positive impact on my life, and just commit to doing it for a month, something like that, or hire a coach such as yourself or me or somebody who can really guide you through saying, okay, here's where you are, let's figure out where you want to be, let's figure out why you want to be there, and then let's make that happen.
You also, I mean, you did more than that, though. You like kind of threw your old life in the garbage can. I mean, right? I mean, you didn't just like hire a coach and start like, you know, flossing every day.
No. Well, I had some epiphanies. You know, I did some travel. I did 5 weeks of traveling while I was working in my monotonous, you know, corporate culture gig. Mm-hmm. And being on the road, being alone, just alone for 5 weeks while experiencing new things, just created some new, you know, neurological pathways in my mind and kind of took me out of those deep-seated and firmly rooted ones of these negative fixations and just crap, you know, just the repetition and obsessing over like things that don't matter. And it just let me be myself and not have to worry about who was thinking what about me. And, you know, if I was conforming to my role, was I doing what I was supposed to be doing? I just traveled, I experienced life, and I said, holy crap, I'm not my thoughts, I'm not my roles, I'm not, you know, what society tells me to be. I'm Jacob. I'm like, you know, I'm an authentic being. And so it started with kind of realizing that a change was possible. And that's why I started off by saying you just kind of have to have faith. And whatever that takes, you know, for you or for someone else listening to really have that experience, it may be what it takes. You know, go out, do something new, travel, experience life in a way you've never seen it before. And it allows us to really learn about ourselves. So me personally, I realized it was possible. And once I did, I said, okay, boom, I'm not like the totally irresponsible and spontaneous, just going to quit my job kind of guy. Like I had bills. I had a real life. I had a ton of bills. So I just started figuring out what was important to me. And this is before I had a method for doing it. It was just very intuitive. Okay, if I want to quit my job, I need to save a ton of cash. I need to reduce as many of my expenses as I can. So I canceled my, you know, home TV. I canceled my home cell phone. I started packing my lunches and stopped, you know, going out clubbing, twice a weekend or whatever I was doing at that time in my life. And I said, okay, what's important to me? And I stayed home and I read, and it was better, you know, it was more important to me because I had that why, I had that reason. And once I had that why reason, I never cooked. I mean, my mom will make fun of me for the rest of my life. I would ask her to, like, you know, microwave a freaking anything. I'm like, Ma, can you make this for me? She's like, you just put it in the microwave. That's it, Jacob. So, but when I had that reason, that why, I figured out how to cook. I figured out how to sell my car. I had a car for the last 8 years of my life. I figured out how to sell that. I sold my motorcycle. I stopped spending money. I canceled my cable TV. Like, how could you even imagine canceling your cable TV, you know? I canceled it. So I had that why reason. And then it was so strong. And another key thing is I didn't tell anybody else about it. I didn't want to hear people saying, "Oh, that's unrealistic," or "Oh, you can't do that," or "What do you think you're doing?" I just kept it to myself, and I really had this burning why. Like, I know that my life is meant to be more than this. I know that there's like a purpose for me, and I don't know what it is yet, but I'm going to do whatever it takes. And to me, the first step felt like saving some money, figuring out how to live very minimally, and then going to Hawaii. And I'm like, hey, you know, let me go to Hawaii for 6 weeks and kind of see what's waiting for me out there. So I did a ton of traveling, and I just did things like, martial arts or meditation and weird things that I've always kind of been interested in, but never had the time or drive to do. So yeah, that's a little bit more personally about how I've really taken that why and let it steer my ship. Even now, even where I am right now, that why is so important.
What is your reason? What is your why?
You mind if I take a sip of water first?
Have some water. I'm gonna have some water too.
Okay, cool. So my why for starting Sensify was feeling what I felt like when I was working in this job and I don't want to crap on the job and say it wasn't a great job, because I had a mentor who I'm still like best friends with, and it was an amazing company. So it's not like my life was miserable. It's just the lifestyle wasn't right for me, So it was feeling what it was like to be in that lifestyle and really just be this robot zombie doing these monotonous activities every day, and really not, and tormenting myself mentally, just obsessing in my head over things that it was really hard. Like it was really a tough period in my life for me, and I went out and I had this experience, and I realized, wow, change is possible. Like I'm no different than anybody else. If I can make this change, anyone else can make it too. And when I was in Hawaii during that period, and I was just immersing myself in these new experiences, surfing and camping and nature. I'm a city boy, born and raised in New York, so to be in Hawaii was like, holy crap, this is amazing. So just experiencing life like that, and while also really just diving deeply into this wisdom that just resonated with me so much, and feeling fully alive and fully just like, bursting with excitement. So to go from this place of waking up in the morning like, oh my God, I have to go through this again today, and tormenting myself in my head with the same thoughts and never taking action on them, and really just like trying to please everybody, to saying, hey, I really appreciated that while it lasted. Thank you guys for all you did, but I've got Hawaii over here waiting for me. And to feel what it felt like to change from that place, really internally. Hawaii, yeah, it's all glamorous and nice on the outside, but I really went to Hawaii internally also. Inside is really what changed as well. So that's my why. My why is knowing what's possible, knowing what it feels like to be in that position where, you're not waking up excited in the morning, you're not living a life that you love, and you don't know what the next step is. You don't know a way out. You don't have a solution. That's my why. Knowing a person is in that situation like I was, and then creating a life where you're waking up excited, where you're doing crap like this. Like I'm having a conversation with you. How amazing is this right now? We're talking about purpose in life. Like this is part of my job.
This is our job. It's crazy.
To do this. It's Tuesday as we're speaking right now, like 1 PM. I would have been in a carb coma and a cubicle somewhere, 2 years ago right now, counting the hours until I, got off to go to the gym and release all my adrenaline, because I was, killing myself with this job. So the point is like just knowing that a better life is possible, and really having felt what it takes to go through that, and having just done it. It's like, if I can give one thing to anybody in the world, it would be that experience of really figuring out what your purpose is. And when you figure out what your purpose is, you start to create this extraordinary life. And that's why I wrote Living on Purpose. That's why I do what I do. That's why we're having this chat right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Living on Purpose is your course that you created to help people do what you did. And this is what lights you up every day, is that helping people move from that place of feeling really lost, feeling unhappy with their current position, but not knowing how to move forward. And this is a guide to helping people, one, get what their purpose is, and two, actually start to align their life with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I'm thrilled. And the feedback has been amazing, and just doing something so soulful for me, and then letting other people really benefit from that and feel what it feels like, and to hear people say, oh, after I read your guide, I quit my job and I'm going back to school to do this thing I'm really passionate about, and I never would have had the courage to do it. or think, and I'm sure you get this also, like it's so meaningful, it's so on purpose for me to do this work that it just lights me up, and to see the results in other people's lives is like,
Yeah.
it's good stuff.
Yeah. So I just had a really brilliant question, and it left. It just got carried away by the wind.
I love it. I love brilliant questions, and I love when they elude us too, because they're out there somewhere, and they may come back,
Yeah.
but we don't need them to. There's no attachment to that brilliance, because you're made of brilliance, and there's so much more brilliance to come out of you.
Oh, here it is. Thank you. I needed that encouragement. So I guess I know that a lot of our readers, they're in a place. Well, I think pretty much anyone. Before you make a change, you want to know that you're going to be successful.
Yep.
I mean, you want to know that you're going to win before you start playing. And what you're saying is, no, it's not going to fly. You can't always know how it's going to go. You can't know every step. You can't even always know what the end result is going to be. So
Yeah.
I think that what would be most encouraging for me, if I hated my life and I wanted to make a change, would be to know that you were successful.
Yeah.
So did you succeed? Did it all work out?
Yeah. Well, it's a kind of a trick question, I think, because I don't think that there ever is that like one destination. Did it work out? Absolutely. I'm getting to do what I love. I get to do what I want when I want. I have the money to do it. I have the life that I have, couldn't even dream of before. But I don't think it's a destination. Like the way I look at living on purpose and life as a whole is, you find something that you love so much, and you're not going to find it right away. It takes time, but you figure out what's important to you, and you make it your purpose to figure out what's important to you, figure out what your values are, and then you use those values, you place them up like a navigating star. You put it up like a star that just illuminates the night's path, and you let that star just guide you for your life. So yeah, I've reached amazing destinations, and I've created a course and written a book and got a job with my mentor, and all these other things that are surreal to me. But I don't think there's ever that destination of success. I think success to me is the path. It's the journey. It's being in integrity with those values. And it's counterculture. It's counterintuitive to say, don't look for success, or don't judge your achievements based on attaining certain goals. Of course, there's some hypocrisy in that, because we do want to make sure we're on the right path and doing the right things. But to me, living on purpose is really about the journey, and ideally, that destination moves further and further away the closer we get to it, because we love it so much that if we reach that destination, it will be over. And to me, the destination is the damn journey. It's the path. It's creating a life where it's not like, oh man, it will be great when I finally get to chat with Lillian on Skype. It's like, no, I want to enjoy myself up until the moment where you reach out to me, or I reach out to you to even have this conversation. I want to enjoy myself. It's going to be great, yeah, when I have, a humongous house and the nicest car and the best wife in the world and kids who just light up my life. That's all going to be amazing, and I can't wait for it. But if I'm not enjoying that journey of it, I'm fooling myself. I need to create a life where I'm doing what I do, where I love what I do on a daily basis.
That's great. So you just mentioned wife and house, and I think sometimes people, they equate life purpose with a job. Like, what's the job that's gonna fulfill me? What's the job that's gonna be the answer? So
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are, there's a difference between a job and a career and a calling, and a job really depletes us of energy. At the end of the day, when we work in a job, we're shot. We come home and we're like, damn, that was a long day, and we're done. A calling, on the other hand, so a job, basically you just go in to get a check. You go in, you make some money, maybe there's a little bit of improvement in yourself at the end of your work experience there, but it's not much more than that. So it's a job. A career, on the other hand, it's what I had. It's what I walked away from. I was making good money. There was a lot of room for advancement. I was really learning a lot, and that felt good. and people really wanted my services. I had a very valuable need that no matter where I went in the world, people need IT work. I can go to China right now and they still need that same service, and it's a necessity. It's not like a luxury. The economy could be doing horribly. You still need your computer to work no matter what. So it was a career. There was really some substance to it. But at the end of the day, it wasn't my calling. And a calling is something that is just what you're here to do. You could say it's pretty parallel to your purpose, but we kind of look at it more of in a job sense, more of in a career kind of sense. And a calling, opposed to a job which depletes you of energy, a calling energizes you. It just infuses you and puts this energy in you. And the more you work at it, the more fired up you get, and the more enthusiastic and energetic about what you're doing you become. So if you want to say, like, if people think about their job being their purpose in life, I would say, whatever works for you, but focus on the calling. Focus on really doing what you love and having the world be a better place because of that.
Well, thank you so much, Jacob. Is there anything else that you want to say to our readers or
Yeah.
our viewers?
Well, I just want to thank you and just really appreciate your energy and all you've done and all the work and contribution that you've made in this world and in this field. And just take the time to acknowledge you and say thank you for reaching out to me open-heartedly, and I really appreciate it. And for the viewers, I just want to say the same. I know what it feels like to really live that life that's not fulfilling, and I'm thrilled. Like I said, this is my why. This is why I do what I do. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Let's make sure we get my contact information wherever.
Contact information is below the video.
Okay, perfect. And feel free to call me. I have random people just call my phone. I have my cell phone number on my website. I have my home address on my website. I got some amazing stories from these types of things. But the point is, reach out. I'm here. I want to talk. I want to engage, and I want to help.
Well, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.